I am Michelangelo Buonarroti, and this is the Chapel of St. Paul in the Vatican. This very important chapel houses two of my last works, the crucifixion of the Apostle Peter and the conversion of Saul on the road to Damascus. It is a particularly important chapel, as it is the place where every newly elected pope prays immediately after his election by the conclave, before appearing in public. Here, under the stern gaze of the Apostle Peter and the conversion of the sinner Saul into the Apostle Paul, the new pontiff assumes the responsibility of his office. I had not yet quite finished painting the adjacent Cappella Sixtina when my patron, Pope Paul III, commissioned me to create these two works. Being in an old age, approaching 70, I did not want to engage in painting. I wanted to devote myself to my beloved art, sculpture. But I could not refuse his will. This is my painting, entitled The Conversion of Saul on the Road to Damascus. According to the Acts of the Apostles, Saul, a fanatical persecutor of Christians, was traveling to Damascus to arrest the Jews who had converted to Christianity. A blinding light surrounded him, and Jesus asked him in a thunderous voice, "Saul, why are you persecuting me?" Saul fell unconscious to the ground, and when he came to, he realized that he had lost his sight. The men accompanying him, frightened by the supernatural phenomenon, escorted him into the city. Saul remained blind and without food for 3 days. Then Ananias, one of the newly converted Christians, who had been notified in a vision by Jesus, went and visited him. He extracted a promise from Saul that he would no longer persecute Christians, and healed him. Saul was baptized as Paul, and from being a persecutor of Christianity, became one of its most important apostles. The work is divided into 2 parts. In the upper part, we see Jesus Christ surrounded by angels, while in the lower part, we see Saul with his entourage. Saul is lying on the ground, covering his eyes, while the rest of his entourage appear visibly upset and perhaps frightened. Jesus emits divine light from his right hand and points with his left hand toward the city of Damascus, depicted on the left edge of the painting. It is as if he is telling Saul what to do next, but also informing the viewer that Saul's conversion took place when he was on his way to Damascus. The heavenly forces arranged across the width of the painting seem to mark the boundaries between heaven and earth. Following the divine light, we are led to the figure of Saul. The composition of the figures draws the viewer's gaze to him. His attendants try to help him. One protects him with his shield, as if he wants to confront an enemy action, an attack. There is a tension in this scene that is intensified by the expressions on the faces of each figure and by the figure of the horse that is running away in fear. The people on earth range from anxious to frightened. Even the angels at the top seem shocked by Christ's action. Observe Saul's face. Although Saul was about 30 years old at the time, I depict him as an elderly man, almost my own age. I will not conceal that I have included some of my own features in his face. Notice that all the figures in the sky are naked, with the exception of some pieces of cloth that partially cover their bodies. In contrast, all the figures on earth are normally clothed, either as civilians or as soldiers. In this way, I wanted to symbolize the purity of the heavenly forces, in contrast to Saul and his followers. As in most of my works, I pay particular attention to anatomy. I depict the muscular system of all the figures in great detail. Even the posture of many of the figures is strange, unnatural. I follow this approach to add drama to my work. These postures and movements create tension in the scene, and emphasize the miraculous nature of the event taking place. That is, the miraculous transformation of Saul into Apostle Paul.